So let me talk about one more thing that gets missed out there in the betrayal world. It is this, and this is the neuroscience piece. You may have heard me talk about this before. Again, different context, it really matters. We have two parts to us. Now, I talk about, when I'm talking about the body, I'm always talking about parts. Like I'll say, there's four parts to ourselves. We have our physical, our mental, our emotional, and our spiritual, right? And that's all true. In this context, when I say we have two parts to ourselves, I'm going to talk specifically about the brain and the nervous system. And I'm going to give new words now, new context. Intellectual, emotional. And if you're listening to this on audio, I'm pointing to my head, my brain for the intellectual, and I'm pointing to my body, the nervous system, the organs for the emotional. Very few counselors out there, especially if they're not trauma informed, touch on the emotional piece. They stay intellectual. If you are just doing talk therapy, which is fine, we need that, right? We've got two parts, and talk therapy covers that intellectual part. So we need to do that. We need to understand. It's why I have the courses. It's why I want people to watch the courses before they start the private sessions, because the courses all deal with the intellect. It's learning, it's stages, it's steps, it's processes, it's lists, it's analyzing things, it's using data. So the courses are all about the intellect. But you can't just stop there. That's not the end of the story. Oh, okay, I figured out my why. I know what stage I'm in. I'm going to do these eight tips that Beth gave me, and everything's going to be great. No, it's going to be 50% better because you got 50% of the work done, but it's not going to be 100% better because you're still missing the other half, the emotional work. So when we're going to therapy, talk therapy, and we're not feeling things, we're not touching on the emotions, the emotional component of recovery or healing, then we're missing half of the solution, which is why people come to me after they've been years of marriage counseling. And it's like, yeah, you got great ideas, but you still don't feel emotionally connected. I wonder why. Because the emotional work hasn't been done. The emotional work is not done. You're going to stay up here and you're missing half of the solution. So what is the emotional work? I think everybody has a good idea of what the intellectual work is, right? Again, it's all those books you're reading, all those podcasts, all the courses, all the webinars you come to, all the power hours you listen to. That's all intellectual. And we need that. We absolutely need that. But the missing link in so many programs is the emotional thing, which is this. If you're an emotional suppressor, we've got to find your emotions. If you are a people pleaser that puts your needs last, we've got to uncover the root cause of that. That's emotional. If you've got a limiting belief running around in your mind, whether it's conscious or unconscious, most of the time it's unconscious. Maybe it's a fear of abandonment or a fear of rejection. Maybe it's I'm not good enough. Maybe it's I need to be perfect. Those are all beliefs that we have that limit us in some way. They stop us, they prevent us, they limit us. That's why we call them limiting beliefs. So if I have a limiting belief that I need to be perfect, I need to get underneath that, which is emotional. I need to get to the root cause of that. At some point, I was in a situation in my life, and I'm speaking generally now, all of us. At some point, let me just use the example of I need to be perfect, okay? At some point, the person that has that limiting belief had something happen And it was some sort of a situation which caused their nervous system to become dysregulated. So the nervous system sent out an alert. The brain then came in and said, hey, you know what? I've got an idea. Let's just start being perfect and maybe we'll never get yelled at again. So the next time something happened, an event, and the nervous system got that same feeling, the brain said, okay, let's just flip on the I'm going to be perfect switch. And that pattern gets solidified over time. This is happening unconsciously. This is why the neuroscience is so important for us to understand. We're not consciously doing any of this. But if I had something happen to me and some event where I needed to be perfect in order to avoid some uncomfortable feeling, well, the emotional healing is finding that, bringing that emotion up, and then healing from that emotion, and then looking at that situation objectively now so that we can let go of that belief. We can disconnect from that pattern of needing to be perfect.